The debate of what is the black satellite over Earth has really been going on forever, for a very, very long time. And the object, this satellite itself, is obviously not some space junk, not some balloon, as our space agencies lie to us about. And whenever it comes to really any kind of satellite or secret satellites or government type of satellites or counterintelligence or intelligence type of satellites, we always see very, very, very little media coverage. Nothing's ever talked about. And I understand to a degree that a lot of these government things should not be discussed publicly because people can't handle it. But at the same time, we have complete censorship of anything that has to do with space programs, anything that has to do with satellites and things of that sort. But I don't think that the black satellite history has been really fully transparent, very truthful, very direct in any way. I think there's so many misinformation type of pieces of segments and pockets of information that are misrepresenting the true story of the black satellite. And I've always been fascinated with satellites, going back to even the very first publicly disclosed, publicly shown satellite, which was a Russian satellite called Sputnik. And Sputnik was launched in approximately 1957 out of a site in Soviet Union at the time, Kazakhstan, which stayed up in space at a very, very low altitude for approximately 22 days or so. And it was only 23 inches wide, so just under 2 feet, and it was 184 pounds. But this was not the first artificial human satellite that Russians shot up. They definitely shot different ones, at least 3 that I'm aware of, military programs, secret military programs. And Russians had access to the moon way before World War II even started. Nazis did, Americans did, but the Sputnik was the one that was admitted to the public. And Sputnik definitely did create a rushed race to the moon between the United States and Russia. And obviously we've all seen that the United States cheated and released a studio-based filmed video. The fake landing, the real video obviously will never be shown. In relation to the government's programs and the government's technologies that are available today, that the governments do have today, definitely they have approximately 75 to 80 years worth of reverse engineered technology, which they're not going to disclose, and approximately 2,000 to 2,500 years worth of traded technology, gifted technology, including a variety of different energy related technologies, teleportation, weaponry, and so forth, consciousness transfer technology, and just to name just a few. But in relation to the black satellite, I mean, this is kind of a comedy hour, really funny. Whenever it comes to talking about it, we see that the government will just say it's a balloon, it's a space junk flying around. But these things are just foolish comedy. This is nonsense, really. And we know that it travels at a very low speed. We understand that, but it's not a dead piece of junk. And when it comes to junk, this has nothing to do by being some random piece lingering around. That's a laughable lie, and perhaps they're good lies for a child, but one of the lies that I think that is the most top lie I've ever heard by the NASA scientists is when the Petit, NASA scientist named Petit, stated that they have lost the technology to go to the moon. They cannot ever get that technology back. So we see these series of lies, continuous lies. But his integrity levels are equivalent to a Las Vegas pickpocketer, perhaps. And over the years, I've definitely been explained small little segments of information, and through channeling and through connecting to different beings, what really is the black satellite and what is the size and the age and the origin and where it come from and so forth. But it's definitely real, fully functioning, still traveling normally, moving, data going in, data coming out, signals going in, signals coming out, with even external lights on, even weaponry attached to it, to this satellite. But it's just a device, as I call it. But this whole story about being a broken piece of junk from somewhere else, that's also not true. This is an ancient spy surveillance system. And I've covered this black satellite in my 2019 video. But Tesla, even Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest geniuses that ever walked on Earth, he knew about it, and he obviously talked about it. He actually wrote about it. Some of his writings are still back in Serbia. And he understood about what the black satellite is. He did state that he did intercept a signal and so forth. And obviously a lot of different people today, a lot of different top researchers today, and even filmmakers today They do great work on talking about the black satellite, but they don't really specify how old is it, how long is it, how much does it weigh, and who controls it today. And there's some bad documentaries about it, and there's some really good recent documentaries about it, more newer documentaries about it by real professional filmmakers. And with so many boring videos that are out there on satellites, but also on the black satellite, I see that the information is the same. It's just repeated over and over and over, year after year. Just a new guy records the video, takes the information from the previous video and puts it out as a new video, but it's still the same thing. The same picture is circulating over the internet. Artists are not creating proper rendering. Why? Well, that's because they have no access to the satellite or any interstellar truths about the satellite. They have no access to the satellite in the astral through any out-of-body experiences or remote viewing. First of all, the whole black satellite, I think it's silly. That's not its name. That's not the original name. It's not black. It's metallic navy blue, similar to KALASK skin. Second, the ancient technology is 2.1 million years old. And this technology existed during the times of the Anunnaki's first arrival on Earth, or first entering into the Earth's collective. But more specifically, this was in between their first and second arrival. So before their first arrival and inhabitancy here on Earth, but also obviously prior to their second arrival, because they left after the first time. They weren't that nice to humans. They came the second time when they built the Giza pyramids and many other structures and pyramids around the world. Egyptians never built the pyramids. They couldn't build a fucking sewage system. It's the Anunnakis, the Elohim, Ra, Thoth, and so forth. So they came in the second time, but they left spy satellites all around Earth or in the Earth's orbit. They called them the spy satellites in the best translation. They just call it a spy technology, really. And all of the pyramid systems around the world, such as the Great Giza Pyramid, still features the same Anunnaki technology as it is now in the black satellite that we call black satellite, that humans perceive as a black satellite, this concept of a black satellite. The Anunnakis invented this technology, they created this technology, they facilitated it, managed it, brought it to Earth, and to this day it's still in our orbit. And their satellites were just very advanced, very intelligent monitoring systems, real-time monitoring of all things on Earth, of everything that moves on Earth. Anything that occurs, they knew about it. Wars, catastrophes, even floods, volcanoes, they knew all about it. They were able to move this satellite with their consciousness, and in some cases with certain technologies, anytime they wanted to change the trajectory, they can do that too at any time. To this day, we see that. Because if the information is disclosed of the trajectory of the satellite, it does move locations. It's not true that it only goes in circular position. That's nonsense. And the placement of the satellite is also important to talk about. The ancient Anunnakis, the real Anunnakis, their members and their councils, this entire crew that came down, these beings knew exactly how to use their technology and consciousness to synchronize different technologies around Earth on different locations or on different sites, and use it together with the Anunnaki's black satellite, where the satellite would control the other technologies all around. They needed that balance. Just like in the universe, we need duality, we need balance, there's good and evil. Well, they also needed that balance with their technology. And just before their departure, literally right as they left, they definitely enabled all of these satellites, and there's definitely more than one. And they enabled it so that it would assist them on ground when it comes to spying on the civilizations and spying on the humans, and also looking at other technologies that was there before them. They wanted to have full control of all of these technologies, of all of the events, on anything that happens on Earth. They're just control freaks. And these tasks were accomplished with their technology. And the sole purpose of this satellite was simply not to orbit Earth or anything. No. It was simply to be just over Earth, to monitor Earth. Every inch of Earth, they wanted to know about it. And this satellite, or this device itself, has several different modes. The 3 modes that I'm aware of. First of all, it's not just circulating around. No, there's 3 modes. There's the on mode, the off mode. As far as this whole visual thing of the satellite's concerned, looking like a peak on a hawk's, let's say, mouth. No, it has different shapes. It's just that it has the ability to shapeshift and change size, change trajectory. Sometimes it's visible, sometimes it's not. It can shapeshift, it can cloak. It has a variety of different features. Second mode, obviously, is the pitch black mode. That would be a mode that none of us would be able to perceive the satellite. The cameras definitely cannot see it. It's extremely difficult to see. Not that it sits in a density above the density that we sit in. No, it's just that the technology itself is able to cloak it completely. It can appear and disappear whenever it wants. It can be green, yellow, black if it wants. It has significant features added to it so that it has this ability to be controlled remotely. It can bend time, it can bend light, it can shrink, expand, a variety of different interesting features. And then there's obviously the standard mode that we generally see, the one that we are told about. That is the on mode. So with the lights on, not that we see the pictures of the satellite with the lights on, but the real mode is with the lights on. It is fully visible. In fact, certain areas of the satellite that we would consider a door, that's visible. Certain areas, a window, that's also visible. There's tiny little antennas all around it. And there's definitely different interpretation of what this black satellite is on the internet. I understand there's very little amount of renderings, but we always see the very same picture. And I would definitely say that the pictures do not do it justice. What we see on the internet, that's not anywhere near close to even describe this powerful surveillance device. And remote viewers, they have some understanding what this is, but I would definitely not advise that they remote view into this place unless they have a prior permission from the beings who currently run it. And the black satellite, this device, is in fact an old, ancient Anunnaki technology surveillance system that was weaponized. It's still weaponized to this day. It was always weaponized. It was weaponized to even murder, kill, destroy a group of humans, an entire continent if they wanted. And especially in the recent time, in the recent human history, I know for a fact that it's been taken over 4 times, this device, this black satellite. In fact, I know the races, I understand the density, the star system, planets, I understand the ancient name of the races and so forth. And the regional locations, even where these races are from, and when did they take it over, approximately when it comes to time. Not that there is time with these beings, but with us there is time. So I understand it from a linear perspective, when, what happened, and where and how. And the last time that it was taken over, certainly has been taken over by an alpha draconian reptilian race, an extremely high ranking race in the high 6th density layer. And this race also, prior to that, they wanted to have it for a very long time, but it didn't. But a 5th density humanoid race took it. Another Pleiadian group took it, and then also the Zeta Reticuli group took it before all of them, the Greys. But currently, as of today, as of, if we want to call it 2022, the race that owns, runs, manages, controls that satellite is the Alpha Draconian race, 6th density race. I know exactly which race it is. And when it comes to the ownership or the hijacking or the taking over by races, when it comes to these satellites, that's nothing new to these beings. It's just what they do. They'll take over a planet, they'll take over a star system, they'll wipe out a race. It's just how they operate. It's like humans going to a forest and killing like 7 rabbits for the fun of it. Killing 4 deer for the fun of it. Then they go to McDonald's and have a burger. So we kill animals for fun. Well, beings will take over other satellites or planetary systems for the fun of it, or because of the control aspect. But the true custodians of the black satellite today is definitely 100 million% an Alpha Draconian race, absolutely. And when it comes to visitations to the black satellite, or other races or other beings and other humanoids and other civilizations wanting to come to it, it's funny, that's never going to happen. That was attempted many times. Even a human space agency from our government attempted to do it, and obviously their request was shut down, which I always find it very funny. Some humans want to go up there and linger around in an area that they're not even supposed to be in. And when it comes to the control of the satellite, obviously the original Anunnakis have installed it in the first place, but they do not have control of it today. The children of the original Anunnaki and then their children were given the secrets of the technology, same technology that's in Antarctica, but also the technology when it comes to the black satellite. So not the original Anunnakis, not the beings who came here 5 times, the Anunnakis came here 5 times. Even I was informed that there's a very, very small piece of AI, so artificial intelligence, neutral-based, neutral energy, that is implemented to sort of control certain movements of this black satellite. But the children of the Anunnakis do have awareness right now of what's happening on Earth, as Anunnaki beings are currently not incarnated, the original Anunnakis. And the children's children certainly have the ability to change it if they want. But I believe because of the respectful communications and the connections within the custodians of the satellite, the agreements are always the same. So the satellite's got one purpose, and it's just to surveil everything that has to do with Earth, but also too to surveil any kind of visitors to Earth that are not approved. They're not supposed to be here. Hence the mass landing that everyone's talking about, never going to happen. There are very strict monitoring checks and security checkpoints around Earth. It's never going to happen, but the black satellite plays a very small portion of it. And there's also a conversation when it comes to the moon's, Earth's, Mars gravitational lock points and that triangle of energy there, that vortex point, and that's definitely monitored by the Martian and the Earth-based reptilians, the beings, the custodians of Earth, and some Zeta groups as well. They definitely play a small little part in the facilitating aspect, managing and securing of the black satellite, but not to a degree. It's the draconian beings that they run it and so forth. And I've had some renderings in the past, about 15, 16 renderings in my 2019 video. Currently I have different renderings that I use, but the rendering certainly does show and will always show my perception of what the black satellite looks like. And in my opinion, based on my research, but also based on my channeling information, interstellar information, it was just there to assist the Anunnakis. It's all it is. It wasn't there to kill anyone. It wasn't there to murder anyone, to do a mass murder event like we've seen with the death of the dinosaurs on Earth by the sixth density humanoid Pleiadian race from Tikrit. But it was just there to do a mass surveillance, control, and from time to time to cause a catastrophe, to scare the humans on Earth. And that's what Anunnakis were really great. They were experts in installing fear. Their tyranny, it was the greatest tyranny I've ever read in any history books, in any kind of research. And because of their tyranny, people got sick of it. They really wanted to throw these tyrants out. I think that should happen today in this world, but that's what happened at that time. They didn't want to listen to these masters anymore. They didn't want to listen to their commands and threats and be slaves, really. So people started to complain. And that's really the true story of why the Anunnakis left in the first place. Humans did not wish to have masters. And respectfully so, I totally agree. Why would anyone want to have a master or a tyrant? Fear is an illusion. I mean, it should be uninstalled from every human being, in my opinion. And these Anunnakis left, and because they left a few different satellites. They left some technologies on Earth. There's certain mountains on Earth, a couple in the United States, one in Russia, and so forth, that still feature their technology, used as a spy type of device and so forth. But within this reality matrix, this is exactly what's happening. We have a lot of these different technologies. We have a lot of these different holographic technologies, a lot of different realm realities, portals, and so forth. And this is our Earth, our reality that we live in. This is nowhere near what my school taught me. Absolutely not. And the enslavement, I think at that time, was much more serious, bigger than it is today, even though now we're getting into that enslavement phase in our world. But when it comes to the enslavement itself, the Anunnakis lost at that time. They departed because no human listened to them, really, and they wanted to kick them out. And they said, we don't want to listen to you anymore. So they left. But the problem is that with this black satellite, there's still audio. And the audio is extremely advanced. It's not like a microphone that we would use, or even a microphone that I'm wearing for this video, but it's a microphone type of device, technology that's able to hear and listen to anything that's happening really on Earth, that happens on Earth. And this whole thing comes again from their entire perspective of being micromanagers, narcissistic psychopaths, really. They just wanted to make sure they control everything. And one of the things that people always talk about is that the Anunnakis wanted to kill humans. That's not true. That's actually not true at all. They were not that evil. They could have killed us all if they wanted, but no, they didn't want dead humans. They wanted alive humans. And after their demise, in exiting Earth's collective, exiting Earth's dimension, our realm, our reality, these spy satellites remained, but they were taken at that time by the closest related ancestors and descendants, as I've talked about earlier with the children of the Anunnaki's children, the hibernization programs with the Elohim beings. Even now, they don't come here too often. The Anunnaki's children, they come here to anywhere between 150 to 200 years, and then they just eventually take off. And another thing that's always tied with the Anunnaki's children, there are some fraudulent channelers in the industry that claim that they speak directly to the children, that they are the descendant of the Anunnakis. They call themselves kings and queens and so forth, but no, this is just ego talking, absolutely not. The Anunnaki's children in any way are not involved with Earth whatsoever, nor are the Anunnakis even incarnated today. We live on a prison planet, that's all it is. But if humans turned off their sensitive emotions, their weaknesses, that sensitive emotion is a weakness, and analyze what is the term prison planet that's often used, and not looking at it from a third density perspective, but looking at it from a fourth density perspective, or mentalized third eye mental flow energy, they'd be able to understand that we're not living in a world that we're told on the television we're living in. Humans, if they saw some things within the sky, if it decloaked itself, they'd need a psychologist just to cope with life. And these satellites are not really helping anything. They're just spying on us. It's an invasion of privacy, but then again, look at our cell phones. AI controls it all. And this information, when it comes to the black satellite, I don't think it can be found in any book. I don't think it can be found in a bunch of different YouTube videos. I think people need to experience a race, a civilization, speak and channel and connect to different beings to be able to tell really the truth. Better information, higher grade information. And with so many different reported articles and reports over the years, even going back to Tesla, and then in 1920s another article came out, I believe, and then another one in 1950s or 1954 actually in the St. Louis, an article called Artificial Satellites Circling Earth. We've seen some truth, some good information. And then there was a book by a gentleman named Donald Kehoe, and then there was a report in 1953 by a professor in New Mexico, and there was alleged photographs by a private person named Louis Garson, or Louis something, in 1957. We've seen reports in the 70s and in the 80s, and we've seen this also, that people are constantly pushing out, hey, they could be a satellite, which is a wonderful thing, but then we see misinformation, such as that the satellite is channeling information to humans. That's not true. The true custodians of that satellite don't channel anything to anybody. Absolutely not. And that satellite's not channeling anything. And I definitely disagree with people that say that they speak to Source, they speak to God, they speak to Elohim and Enki and Enlil. That's a complete ego talk, and they wouldn't be able to do that directly, speak to someone of that caliber, of that consciousness caliber. So they certainly cannot say that the Source told them the black satellite is this, or the Enlil told them the satellite is that, or the Enki told them that. These are just Enlil and Enki fanatics. But regardless what people think the satellite is, what the internet says the satellite is, the fact is that this satellite is an ancient Anunnaki technology, and we should just leave it at that.